Last time we talked about how awkward it was to have nested if statements inside of other if statements inside of other if statements, as a way of organizing the tree of choices for your game. So today let's talk about a better way to organize it. I'm going to use the metaphor of an actual physical page, imagining that this is actually a book. So if you imagine a choose your own adventure book, every single page has a couple of things. It's got text for its part of the story, and then it has a list of choices that the user could have, and then it has pointers that will point to other pages that each choice leads to. So in our example from before, the start page has a description of there being a path to the left or the right, and the list of choices are the choice to go left or to go right, and that's what the user would actually type. And then if the user types go left, I think the page actually has to know where does that lead to. What other page of the story are we going to go to if they type left? So if we choose to create this page object, now we can organize the tree of choices as a bunch of page objects that all point to each other. And then the gameplay can look something like this. We'll have a variable called current page that keeps track of what page are we on right now in the story as the user's playing. So at the very beginning, we want to take the start page and save that inside current page. It might be confusing to think about it as saving it inside. Instead, you should think about current page as containing a reference to a page. So it's like an arrow that points to a particular pre-existing page object. So then we're going to keep looping until the game is done. And what we're going to do is, whatever page we're pointing at right now, we'll ask that page to display its text to the user. Then we'll ask that page to display its set of choices to the user. Then we'll have the user choose their choice, and then we'll give that thing that the user typed to the page and ask the page, does what the user typed match any of your choices? And if the answer is yes, give us whatever page they're supposed to go to next. And so if we can get the page they're supposed to go to next, now we update the current page to be that next page. So as we're looping, it will display you have a path to the left and the right. Do you want to go left or right? They'll type left. Then we'll ask the current page, what other page should we go to if they typed left? And the page will tell us, oh, if they typed left, that leads to this page, the green one. Oh, nope, let's pretend it leads to this page, the pink one. And so then we'll update current page to point at the new page. And then when we go back to the top of the loop, we can do all the same steps, only we're at a different page in the story. So this page object will display a completely different text for its part of the story, and so on. So that's how we can navigate through this tree. So in order to support this behavior, let's talk about what the page object needs to look like. As you remember, objects contain variables and methods. So that's like the facts or the information about the object. And then methods are the behaviors that an object can do. So we already talked about the variables. The page object needs text for its part of the story and a list of choices and a list of other page objects that the choices lead to. The behaviors we know because we've thought out how do we want to use this object. So one behavior is we want to be able to ask a page to display its own text. So that's going to be a method. And we know that we want to have it display its own set of choices for the user. So that's going to be its own method. The last thing we need is we need to be able to give the page object the text that the user typed and ask it what the next page will be. So that's its own method. But then we also need to create a way so that we can actually add more options to each page object. Because if we're going to have a story, we need to build up the story before the game ever starts. We need to create every single page of text and then describe which pages lead to which other pages. And so this isn't a method that the user will ever run. It's not a behavior for users, but it's still a thing that our object needs to do because it's the only way that we're going to be able to construct all of our pages. So come back next time and let's implement all of those features.